I'm Steve Schnarr. I'm the director of Missouri River Relief, and I'm just going to kind of kick things off here. But the real reason everyone is here is to run through how Race Owl, the app, and Race Owl, the website, work, and how they can make your lives easier tracking your paddlers, or if you're a paddler, for checking in and out of checkpoints, or if you're a ground crew trying to do the same. Um, the app is pretty powerful. It's what the race uses to keep track of times for paddlers, and places and where everybody's at. That's what we use to determine if there's anyone who has not checked into a checkpoint, and we might need to start kind of that search process looking for people.
Yep.
So for those of you that are watching on Zoom, there's two ways that you can submit questions. There's a Q&A button towards the bottom of your screen, most likely, that you can click and enter questions, and they'll sort of compile there. And John and Colleen may answer those when they have an opportunity, or we may circle back at the end and catch any questions that have still come in. There's also the chat, which you can use as well. So those are the two basic options for how to submit questions. On these Zoom webinars, you can't actually speak to us. So that's kind of how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and drop out of this conversation. I'll be hiding in the background, turn it over to John and Colleen. John is the inventor of Race Owl. Colleen is ground crew extraordinaire, and also is able to translate John speak for the rest of us, just in case things get confusing. And
Guaranteed
thank
to
you
do
guys
so.
for all the work that you do for this race, and thank you tonight for sharing some tips on how to use these really amazing tools.
Okay. Well, very good. Thank you, Steve. That was a really good introduction. So, yeah, we've got 3 sections to cover tonight. And so I think what we'll do is we'll cover a section and then wait a little while, get some questions and answers done, and then move on to the next section. And I've got some PowerPoint to go through, as well as some live demos. So if you have your phones, it'd be handy to have those as well. You can kind of work along with us as we do some of these demos. Let me just pull up my screen here real quick. All right, hopefully everyone's seeing that. And let me show a couple slides, and then we'll go back to kind of live mode here. I gotta get the right screen. All right, let me see here. We'll just keep it in this mode if it'll be easier to get. Well, there we go. Slides. Can't see. Okay, so Race Owl has actually been around for quite a while now. I am not the inventor of it though. So I inherited this from Hogan Hake, who inherited it from, I forget his name, Eric was it? I should know this, but I don't remember his name. He was the original inventor of it, the website at least. Got the thing up and running long about 2013, 2014, when Race Owl kind of started being the 340 web tracker as far as check-ins, check-outs, where the boats are at, you know, that sort of thing. Hogan took it over, I think it was 2015 or so, and then I came on at the same time because I was doing the apps at the time, and we kind of combined forces and went from there. Hogan has since left, which means it's now just John. So if anyone's really wanting a low-paying job with lots of hours, you know, let me know. There maybe is a future there. Actually, the pay is 0, so you know, that might be a little bit of a disincentive, but we'll see. The mission of Race Owl is really twofold. One is, you know, where are you, right? Safety-wise, really important. That's its primary mission. It's 340 miles. There's tons of boats, lots of people, and keeping track of everyone is a challenge. And so this system has kind of grown up to handle that challenge and to provide the race admins and volunteers information on where you're at. And so lots of ways to do that. The main thing is through tracking and through checkpoints. Those are the two main ways we know to where you are. If you're not tracking, it's not required, but you have to be doing the checkpoints. I'm in, I'm out. You move down through Waverly to Glasgow, et cetera. You check in at those points. That just lets the folks know, hey, there's no one left behind, you know, and if you are, and you're not accounted for, then you get a phone call and they start tracking down, send a boat out, whatever. Other ways that RaceAl gets involved is broadcast messages. And those will be coming through. If you see on the phone, it'll be the 816 number with a 239. Those are going to be like, hey, there's a barge at Glasgow, or watch out for weather. Safety messages that need to get transferred to you, and they're broadcast over to everyone. The ground crew gets it, the paddlers get it. Everyone who has registered a phone number will get these broadcast messages. So that's been a really helpful safety feature from the point of view of, you know, watch out for this hazard that's popped up. So if you see a 239 number, that's probably what it is. And then there's the normal check-in process through the 340 phone number you see here on the individual messages. That is how you would use if you're texting in through your app, or not through the app, that's through a normal phone. If you text in through that, it goes to RaceAl first and then passes on to a human who can then answer a question if you have it. So you can text in your checkpoints, you can text out your checkpoints, you can also ask questions that are not safety related, but or emergency related to that number, and a human will get it and respond to you in time. Okay, so really handy services there. The secondary mission is really informational, right? So we want to provide information on leaderboard, who's winning the race, who won the race, you know, and importantly for like ground crew, ETA to checkpoints. So this is kind of a key feature. You want to know when your paddler's getting someplace, and that's one of the things that you want to pay attention to tonight, as far as if you're a ground crew. You know, when is my paddler going to get into this checkpoint or this access point? And then one thing RaceAl does really good is keeping track of data and statistics. All that information is stored and accessible by you after the race. If you want to geek out and take a look at, you know, when did you get there, what your split times were, you know, what was your track, etc. It's all stored there. And you can go back in history and look and see those things as well.
John?
Yeah.
There is a question about the previous section. Somebody said, is there a way to double check that our phone number is on the list? Ground crew changed after sign up. So
Yep.
Number one, can they? And number two, how?
So that is, you would have to go through Kate. So Kate Masker is the keeper of that list. You can send me a note if you want. I can check it, but we don't publish those numbers. Those are admin only.
Do you want them to check in with you via text or through email?
That'd be fine.
Okay, at text?
Actually, you can even, I'll tell you what, you can even send it to this number here. And that way RaceAl will get it, and we can check it that way.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Colleen. Okay. All right, what we want to do tonight, there's three things. How to track your position. So that's, you know, given you want to, this is a long distance between Caw Point and St. Charles, right? So you want to, in order to take full advantage of the RaceAl, you want to be able to track your position to RaceAl, and several ways to do that. We'll go through those. We want to go over the basic thing of how to check in and out of a checkpoint. We'll do some demos on that. You guys can play along with your phones if you want. We want to get everyone comfortable with that app. You can practice all you want. It won't hurt a thing. Just go at it. Type away. RaceAl will probably reject you, but that's okay. You know, at least then you're in the race. And then thirdly, where is the paddler? So how do you use the RaceAl website to figure out where your paddler is and where is he or she going to be at such and such time? Okay, three important things. And we'll stop after each one to give you guys a chance to ask questions or catch up, and then we'll move on. If we have time, we can go into some other things like playing with the data, things like that. All right, moving on then. Tracking. Put yourself on the race map. You guys see this map up here. If you go to the RaceAl website, you'll see a lot of this stuff. It shows a little boat and then a number. Your number is there. Some are red, some are black, and that's fine. Note on red and black, okay? I get this question all the time. What does black mean? What does red mean? Black simply means your number is recent. Your position update has been recent within the last hour. If it turns red, it's gone stale, which means I haven't heard from you for an hour, or at least, maybe more. Maybe you've dropped out of the race, don't know. But there's no positions going into race out at that point. Now, my mom is the most nervous person in the world. And when she watches me on the race and my number turns red, she thinks I'm dead. So just be clear, you're not dead. It just means your number is not being updated. Your position has not updated. You're probably fine. It could be something else, like a network has gone down, or your phone is out of batteries, or you turned off the app. Lots of things that cause that, but don't assume someone's dead just because their number's red. Devices that you want to use, there's the satellite trackers, or there's the actual phones you can use to track your position. We'll talk about satellites briefly. Excuse me. So these are nice devices in that they are immune to cellular data dropouts. So you're going to find along the river, there's several spots where you don't have cell connections. It's gotten better. I'm hoping this year is the year that we get connections everywhere, but you'll find that in Glasgow, there's a big old black hole there. And so you'll have somebody sitting at the top of the hill with a Verizon account who is the only one with data access, and he or she is the one checking people in and out. Hopefully it's better this year. I look at the what's it called, the Gen 5 network stuff. It looks better, so I'm hoping that looks a lot better for the connectivity as well. We'll find out. But yeah, you do end up getting a blackout for about an hour and a half between Glasgow and, oh, I forget, it's like an hour or so downstream, and then you'll pick it up again. There's a few other spots where you drop out briefly, but really you have pretty good coverage throughout the whole race for the phones. Okay, so trackers. If you're going to use a tracker, move this out of the way, you have to set up with the vendor and on the RaceOwl website. Okay, so there's some code you have to enter, and the RaceOwl website gives you some documentation to help you through that. Let me open up one of these. If you go there, you're going to find this PDF, and it will show you for whether a Garmin InReach or a spot tracker, how to go through the website, log in, and set up the various different values you need. You have to set up these share positions and these feeds for data. That's how this KML feeds, that's how RaceOwl grabs that information and pulls it over to RaceOwl. So it walks you through the vendor site as far as what you need. You copy this raw KML feed, and then you go to the RaceOwl site and you copy paste it in. So underneath tools and tracker entry, you get this form here. You pick the right race, make sure you do that. There should be just one at the time you try it. If not, pick the MR340 2021. You enter your phone number, just the last 4 digits. That's just a security check. Can be any number that you logged in or used to register with. Doesn't matter. Those are all available just to make sure you're who you are. Last 4 digits of any one of those numbers. And then you enter your boat number. And additionally, you'll enter the information needed for the spot tracker or the InReach device. After you enter that, you'll say update it. It should say success. And then you go and you verify that you show up on the map. That'll be your verification that RaceOwl is picking up those numbers. You want to send a ping or two, so turn your device on, come back a little while, look at the map. Up to, it can be up to 5 to 10 minutes later, you should be on that map. If so, you're good to go. All right, I guess I'll pause here for any questions. Again, this is, you can spend a long time going over these websites, because especially the spot one, very confusing. So just beware. Don't wait until the last minute to do spot, especially.
You're saying spend time on the website. You just mean on raceowl.com? Or
no, I mean to set these up. Mm-hmm. I mean the Garmin website and the spot website. Those can be more complex than you wish they were.
Okay, but this PDF is on RaceOwl under documentation, and it tells you what the process is what you're saying.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
It tells you what the process is. It steps you through. All right, I'll leave it there.
Okay.
All right, let me go back to this thing. Okay, so satellite tracking, phone tracking. This is where we want to spend a good deal of time here. You're going to get the RaceOwl app if you're going to go with this. Download the latest version. Go ahead and check. It's the 4.92 for Android and 4.43 for iOS. iOS just updated this week. We found a bug in the Freedom Race last week, and so that was fixed with this new update. So you're going to want to grab that. Likewise, this has training guides as well. And so similar to the Spot and InReach, you can also walk through this guide and do the same thing. This walks you through how to set the app up, how to go and do the registration, how to actually do checkpoint texting, which we're going to talk about later on, but how to do things. I'm not going to spend time in this. This is for reference. We're going to actually do a demo now just to make sure you've got it, okay? So let me pop out of this thing. And move over here. And I've got two phones. I've got an Android right here, and I've got an iPhone. I'm going to pull up RaceAl on both of those, and we're going to go through the steps it takes to track, okay? So pop up the Android here, get that going, pop up the iPhone, get that one going. Okay.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
As you go, it may be helpful for you to point out what the most common mistakes are that people make.
That is a very good suggestion. It's a good thing I married you. So yeah, so this actually skipped by the most common mistake. The most common mistake is the permissions. And so when you pull up your phone and download it, it's going to ask you for, give me permissions for what the phone needs. And especially in the iOS, it happens all the time. People go too fast, they don't read. The new update actually has a feature in it that will make sure you can't leave it in a bad state. So that's happiness. But you want the iPhone to be an always allow location updates. And if you go too fast, you're going to end up, iPhone doesn't want you there. They want you in only when I'm using. And as soon as you put your phone down or hide it or put it in your pocket, it stops working. That's bad. You won't track anything. You're going to get a track at the very start of the race and nothing else. And someone's going to call you and say, hey, why aren't you tracking? It's like, I don't know. And it's because you don't have the permissions set right. So like I said, the newest version of this app has a catch in there that says, okay, you really need to make sure this permission's right, but older versions do not. So it's something we had issues with a Freedom Race for a few racers, and I want you to avoid that issue. So make sure you set the permissions, give it all the permissions it asks for. Don't be greedy and say, well, you don't need that. No, it won't work without it. So please give it all the permissions it's asking. Next thing is it's going to pop in and it's going to ask you, when you boot up these apps, are you racer or are you ground crew? This is a common mistake here too. You want to say, no, I'm not a racer, or yes, I am a racer. What this does is if you say no, I'm not a racer, it disables tracking. So you cannot track yourself. This is one of the common mistakes, is that as we start the race, people take off, they have the thing in the pocket, they're tracking the number of the boat, and they go off to Walmart, they go up, they go home, they sleep, and I'm tracking not the boat, but I'm tracking the ground crew. Big issue. All right, happened last year a lot. There was, I don't know, probably a good 10% of the trackers were tracking the ground crew, not the boater. So we want to be very careful on how you use this, and this is just a safety feature to help you not do that. Now, since last year, RaceAl has gotten a lot smarter, and it's kicking out all those. It's smart to figure out, okay, you're not on the river, I shouldn't be tracking you. But again, don't make it harder on RaceAl than you need to. Turn it off. Don't track if you can avoid it. So yeah, pick yes or no. I'm going to pick yes for this one. Over here on this screen for the Android, it's saying which race do you want. You can click on that. At the time of the race, there should be just one. Right now, I've got a test one and the real one. I'm going to pick the real one here just because I can. And then again, are you a non-racer or are you a racer? Pick racer and go for that. Next thing you have to do is enter what boat are you? And on the Android, it'll pop to the screen already. On the iPhone, go to registration, same sort of information. You're saying, okay, what race are you in and what division, right? If you want to change division or race, just click on this. It'll pull up a list, pick it, pick on this. It'll pick a division you're in. Same over here. You can pick a what race you're in or what division, and then enter your boat number, right? So right here is where your boat number go. It says racer ID. Over here is racer number, same idea. Enter your boat number. Then your first, last name. Do not worry about this code. That's for official use only. So you'll see it down here on this one. race Al administration code. This is for the last checkpoint. That's how we enter it when you come into St. Charles. Okay, once you do that, you'll hit register. It means nothing for the 340 because 340 there's no open registration. It's all set by it's set by you signing up through the website on River Mile or on River Miles and so forth. So those are all set by the race. You don't change those. All you do is can verify that you are registered as you are. So in this case, I'm using boat 1, which means it's registered to Jeff K. I need to do nothing else. You should see one of your members of your team on that registration response. If you do that, then you know you're good. Okay. I'm not going to be Jeff, so I'm going to change it to something that, that was a mistake. There we go. I'm going to change it back to my number here, which is a non-number, and I'm going to register. It should say, yep, there's nothing there. Yep. Okay. Hopefully everyone's with me because now we're going to go to tracking. iPhone, I'm going to hit back. I'm going to position tracking. Android, I'm going to hit this little menu up here, or I can just drag from the left side over and get the menu, but I'm going to hit the menu. I'm going to position tracking. The two screens look the same. At this point, all you're going to do is hit track me. And then had I had a real number, RaceAl would not reject me. Oops, track me. Okay, so rejected. Yeah, so like here's like what it ought to be. It's saying it's rejected. Now, once you get it tracking, then you're good. You can put this phone down. You can put it in the background, whatever you want, and it is now no longer. You don't need to look at it anymore. So I can just home it on the iPhone. Doesn't matter. It's now, you can put the phone away. You don't need to look at the screen. It's now in background mode. It's sending a ping to RaceAl, a ping of a location every 5 minutes or so. And that will show up in RaceAl. Okay, I'll pause here for questions.
We have one question, John. Somebody asked, so as a crew member, I still select register once I've entered my racer's info?
You can. That's simply a verification that you've got the number right. You don't have to.
Okay. That was the only open question.
Okay.
I do want to say there's been a couple questions about where to find those documents, and I gave the wrong information to a couple people. So if you're looking for the documents that John was showing earlier about how to find or how to use your spot or any of those things, go to the homepage, click on info, select training, and then scroll to the bottom. And there's a bunch of different links at the bottom that will give you all the information that you need.
We'll just go there. How about that?
Yeah.
So let's go to RaceAl.
While you're scrolling there, we have a few more questions coming in. So as soon as you show that,
Okay.
I'll give them to you.
All right, so RaceAl looks like this. You'll see over here tools. You'll see this is where you put the tracker. Over here, info and training. This kind of gives you a lot of links to different things that you might be interested in. So like to the apps on the App Store, as well as the training and checkpoint stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So right here, then would be your inReach document or the spot document or whatever else you need.
Okay. All right, good. So here are some questions. The first one is, what happens if I have registered my spot and my Android cell phone?
That's fine. You can actually track two devices. You can be tracking your spot and your Android. You just get double the coverage.
Okay.
Actually, that's how we did like Tracy on her Mississippi River adventure. She had two trackers going at once because we wanted to be absolutely sure to get all the data. You can do the same thing if you so desire.
Okay. The next question is, how do you make sure RaceAl is updated?
Excellent question. So what you'll see is on RaceAl. So if this would be a good chance to actually track somebody. So maybe someone could throw out a number to me. So some boat number.
Nobody can do that, John.
Well, they can text it to me though. Oh, I can find one. How about that? So let's go here. And let's go back here.
Oh, here, somebody's throwing out one here. 3986 is one you
Okay.
can try.
Okay. So 3986. Okay. I'm going to register. It's going to say 3986 does not appear to be. Oh, wait, I see what I did. This is for the other race. Let's go this guy. Now let's register. Okay, so that's Carl Mitchell.
Mhm.
Hopefully that's it. So I've registered, but it's really just a verification, right? So now I can go and track. So position tracking, and I'm going to hit a track, and it's going to say, yep, I'm taking you. So you can see it took it. It now tracked it, and it went to the website. Now, if I pull up RaceOwl, and I go into the 340 race, I open up the map. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now, the funny thing is, this phone thinks it's in California. So you see here, there you go. So you should see yourself on the map almost immediately.
But during the race, how do you know that it's actually being updated? Because you can see your position changing, and the data on the leaderboard will also change.
Correct. Yeah. So you will see. You'll know it's tracking if you'll get messages here on your phone saying I'm not updating. So let's say, for instance, you go through a black hole. That's fine. Just leave it run. What you'll see is down here, this location thing is going to keep on incrementing. Every 5 minutes, you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Every 5 minutes, it takes a location and it stores it. If it cannot send because you're in a black hole, it just saves it, and then it will send it eventually. You'll see this guy should go down to 0 as soon as you have connectivity. So if I'm a black hole, this will count up, then it will count down when it gets out. And it'll say tracking pending network, or tracking, it should have some sort of tracking signal that says, yeah, I'm still good. But yeah, just let it go.
Okay, great.
Worry if it says stopped, that's bad. If it says something like that, that's, you don't want that. Just hit tracking again.
Okay. Here's another question. Do I stop the tracking now or keep it on until race day?
I would stop it now. I mean, I don't need to. I don't need to see where you live or anything like that. So yeah, just go and stop it. I mean, it's actually kind of neat sometimes. If you see this map, you'll see everyone, and sometimes it's neat to watch people drive to Caw Point. You'll see this big convergence of numbers. But yeah, it's you don't need to turn on until you get back to Caw Point.
Here's the next question. If I'm not showing up on the map, does that mean I'm not set up correctly?
Possibly. So if you're not showing up on the map, then I assume this is a phone tracker should be almost immediate, at least within the next couple of minutes. If it's beyond that, then it's probably not correct. And that's where I would be checking your GPS. Do you actually have a signal? Like, you should see these numbers not be 0. If it's 0, then it's not gonna mean a thing. It means your GPS isn't working. And if you have something like that, you can contact me and we can work through it.
Okay. Hang on a second.
Definitely recommend that folks turn this tracker on, drive to work. You should see your track.
Okay. Here's the next question. If you have inReach and have it set up, then your paddler is not turning on the tracking, right?
If you have inReach and it's set up, then either one or two things. And well, okay, so say that here's option 1. You have an inReach and you set it up, but you never saw it pop up on the map. Okay, that means that it's not set up correctly. You should have them someplace. If you see the number, but it never updates, that usually means it's not turned on.
Okay, so does the paddler, you just need to make sure you turn it on before the race.
Absolutely. Turn it on, check it out. I would verify for sure that you see yourself on this map and that you turn black at some point.
Okay. Here's a question within the chat. Does running the tracker on your phone gobble up your batteries? John, you have a lot of experience with that.
I do. So actually, that's a good segue into the next section, which is talking about that sort of thing.
Okay, we have other questions, so let's hold that one.
Okay.
Here's the next one. When we register on RaceOwl, do we register under the paddler or ground crew first contact?
Always. Okay, so it's asking for the paddler number. So the registration here, in this case, I'll say it doesn't really matter because all this information is stored on the website. If it were a race like the 340, the 340 is a big race, right? We have all that information already. If it's like a local race, then you probably want that information. But for this case, it's not going to matter. We have that information already.
So you don't have to put the ground crew contact in there?
No, you don't. You don't have to. We already have it.
Okay.
Just make sure that you have the number correct.
The boat number.
The boat number.
Okay. Okay. As ground crew, do we use RaceOwl app to track the racers?
No. The only reason this is a for race participation. You're only going to use it for tracking or for checkpoint texting. Those are the only two applications. You do not use it to track from a point of view, where are they at? That's what the website's for.
So in a situation where, for whatever reason, it's not checking in and out and the paddler can't check themselves in and out, the ground crew could get on there and do it. But if you're just wanting to know where your racer is and how long it's going to be before they're at the next checkpoint, you need to look at the website.
Yep, exactly.
How do I access the map screen on the website?
So let's hold that for a little bit later when we talk about the website itself.
Okay. All right. So that leaves you with two open questions. One's on the batteries and one's on accessing the map. Otherwise, we're caught up.
Let's go to the batteries then. All right. So I need to go back to this thing. Let me just pull this up a little bit. All right. So batteries. So batteries are definitely a thing. You're gonna drain your battery no matter what. And a lot of people think if I use this tracker, I'm going to actually drain my battery, but that's not really the case because we are not pinging but once every 5 minutes. What you'll find is that as you go longer and longer in time duration between pings, it gets in the noise of the phone. So if you're pinging like constantly, yes, it draws a lot of power, but as you go out past 100 seconds, there's no detriment to the phone battery. It's just your phone normal draw. And so that doesn't really impact you. So that's why I usually say, hey, it doesn't hurt. May as well do it. Your biggest draw on the phone is your screen. That's by far the biggest draw. Networks are second. So you might think about turning off like Bluetooth and things like that. You need to keep the data up. You need the cell thing up, but you can turn off Bluetooth if you don't want to listen to music. But anyway, that's what you want. But regardless, you're going to end up charging your phone at some point. And so you need to be thinking about how you're going to do that and get a strategy in place. Move this stuff over here. How much battery you take is up to kind of your situation. Normally, I would say you need like a 20,000 milliamp hour brick. And so let me see if I stop my sharing my screen real quick. So these things right here, these are those charging bricks. This is a 20,000 milliamp hour one. It'll last you the whole race if you don't have your screen on for the daytime and only at night. This one, bigger, heavier, it'll last you the whole race. It's 40,000 milliamp hours. So depending on what you want, get one of those guys and use it. That'll do all you need for charging. All right, let me go back here to the screen share. All right. Yeah, so that's kind of recommended. You charge during the night, not during the day. You don't, here's the thing, if you charge during the day, these things in hot Missouri are going to overheat. And so direct sun, bad, screen on, bad, because it's got the brightness going as much as it can. You're draining your battery a lot. That's why it's not the best idea to have the phones out during the day with the screen on. I usually recommend people put them in your pocket, put in PFD, put them in a baggie, right? Because you want to keep them waterproof. But charging to the day is unless it's a cool summer, which it might be next week, don't know. But if it start pushing like 95 degrees or higher, you're going to cook the phone, especially during the daytime. So charge it during the night if you can. I do not recommend solar panels. I ran this one year, and what happens is Missouri is muddy and you keep dripping on it, and so it degrades over time, and you constantly have this connection to your phone, which well, I fried my phone the year I did this, and so You've got this little USB that's plugged in your phone, and no matter what you think you're going to do, it's never as waterproof as you think it should be, or as it should be. And so I made the mistake of dropping that thing into the water and then plugging it into my phone. And then I let the magic white smoke out of the phone, which I think that's what runs them, that magic white smoke. And if it goes out, you don't get a phone anymore. But
that was an epic year to be your ground crew. I will just say that.
Yes, that was the emergency call to Colleen saying, come get me in Jeff City. My phone is fried. Please come now.
And it was smoking, and the kids were at home, and I had to call somebody to come be with them at 12 o'clock at night. Yeah, it was, that phone was fried.
It was fried.
Yeah.
So be careful. You will fry them if you're not careful. Solar panels, they degrade, and they lead to more fried phones. The other thing, a lot of people do these phone swaps. That's where you have a phone and you get to the checkpoint, you swap it out, someone else gives you a charged phone, you take it. That's actually kind of problematic, especially if you're tracking with that phone. And you can see why, right? Because all of a sudden you're tracking, you hand the phone over, you forgot to stop it. Now your ground crew is tracking as well as you. And so that kind of leads to a lot of issues. So phone swaps, I don't really care for that much. If you do it, fine, but just be sure that you turn off that tracking. Otherwise, you're adding some problems.
John, we had a couple of questions that aren't related to battery, but that might go back a little bit to the previous section. If you're using Pro Paddler, should you use RaceOwl as well? And then the other question was, can we use RaceOwl on one phone and Pro Paddler on another phone? And I think there might be some confusion.
Yeah, and certainly it does. I mean, so this is kind of the basics. Pro Paddler is like an additional thing, right? So I'm going to suggest we hold that off till the end. I will say that generally, though, if you're running Pro Paddler, you do not need to run RaceOwl. You still need to have it on your phone just in case, because you're responsible for checking in and out. Pro Paddler has that check-in automatic thing, but you're responsible to make sure you actually did it. But RaceOwl can do the backup. Your Pro Paddler can take care of the tracking plus auto check-in. Okay, so that's a quick answer to that. I'm sorry, what was the other one?
Can you use RaceOwl on one phone and Pro Paddle app on another
yes,
one?
that's very typical. A lot of people will use their throwaway Android for Pro Paddler and then have their fancy iPhone in their backpack for when they want to check in or check mail or whatever. Okay.
So the answer to if you're using Pro Paddler, you should use RaceOwl as have it as a backup at the least.
Yes, as a backup. Yep.
Okay.
Waterproofing. Just real quick on this. Just do it. Don't just leave the phone out. I don't know how many people have donated their phone either to the water. I mean, you're probably gonna drop it. You could drop it anyway. It won't help you much, but the baggie might let it float a little bit. But just waterproof it. You're gonna really want that. You get it wet, it's not happy. Droplets get on the screen. It makes the screen do funny things. Yeah, put in a baggie, put in your PFD during the day. At night, I recommend these kind of electrical boxes with a clear screen. This wasn't very good. I just found it on the internet, but a clear screen will let you see the phone and charge at the same time. So that's pretty handy. I Velcro that to the bulkhead of my boat, and I'm happy. It kind of goes the whole night. And
the one you have is one of those waterproof ones that's got
right. I got a waterproof box, and it goes on the bulkhead of my ski. So that's where I stick it, and it just stays there.
Within the chat, somebody mentioned that they have a battery bank with 3 fold-out solar panels. She charges the bank during the day, charges the phone at night.
Yeah,
so that's an option.
Yep, I think that's fine. Again, you can cook them if it gets too hot. As long as you're charging the battery, that's kind of the same deal as far as the phone, as far as it could overheat. Just keep an eye out for that. Okay. That's it on tracking. So next would be kind of check in, check out. So I guess any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to check in, check out.
No, I think we're caught up with just the map, but you're going to get to that later. Oh, here, someone just submitted one. So does Pro Paddler submit all tracking points to RaceOwl so that we will see the real-time location on the website, or will we just see check in, check out at checkpoint?
No. The trick to Pro Paddler, and again, we'll get into this later if we have time, but you want to pick auto and just let it do auto check-in and let it do the position tracking. It does both if you pick auto, and that will stream your position to RaceOwl.
So you can so as a ground crew, just saying, when I'm watching to see where John is, you can refresh your screen on RaceOwl and see his little boat move on the map.
Right.
So if that's what you're asking, you do see real-time updates on the website,
Yes.
real-time, provided he's in an area where he's got the cell sync.
Well, we'll
signal.
talk about that too. That's
Yeah.
a good question for the website.
Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, Colleen, you're good. You just get ahead of me.
Sorry.
It's all good. Okay. So now we got the check-in, check-out. So you're going to have to check in to Ka Point. That's pre-race. So we're going to, when you sign up at the, and I'm pretty sure some other webinars probably talked about this, but when you show up on Monday, you're going to come see me, and we're going to make sure you know how to check in. And you'll pull up your app. You'll then check in, and we'll say, "Yep, that looks right. You're good to go." And we can talk about other issues you have at that point, or whatever other advice you'd like. And you know, a lot of people have done this a lot of years, so feel free to ask your neighbor too. They've done it. And you're going to have to check in and out of Waverly, Glasgow, Jeff City, Herman, and Klondike. Those are the required ones. And now we'll show kind of how to do that. So back on the phones, let me just jump out of this. Oh my goodness. I'm definitely Mac challenged sometimes. Okay, so going to pull up the phones again. And on the phones, you're going to go on the iPhone, go to check-in. On the Android, pull a menu, and again, go to checkpoints. Okay, should look pretty much similar to each other. This is your check-in, check-out screen. And as soon as either your paddler is going by and you're going to do it as a ground crew, or if you're a paddler, you're going to pull this out and you're going to do this at those specified checkpoints. Okay, you go up here, you pick the checkpoint you're at. Now, the good thing is this app will pick the closest thing to you. Okay, now since both these phones think they're in California, it picks Cal Point because that's the most east or most west. Got my direction messed up there. And so you'll go up there, you'll pick your whatever checkpoint you are at, if it hasn't already automatically done so. Make sure your boat number is right. Okay, so this is open though. You can check in yourself, you can check in others. If you change the boat number, that's great. Just make sure you're checking in the boat you think you are. So if my boat number is 9990, that's fine. It will kind of give you a, here's where you think you're at. You're at Waverly, it's Wednesday about 7:12. If you think that's good, that's fine. You press check in. Like here on the Android, check in. And it will tell you immediately whether RaceL accepted you or rejected you, and then tell you why. It'll give you this little message on the top. And it will say, oh, nope, you're not really a racer. I didn't, or my race hasn't started, or that's too fast. You can't get to Waverly from Ka Point in 5 seconds. That must not be right. So it'll give you a reason why it rejected you. And you can say, oh yeah, well, I pressed the wrong thing, whatever. It's nice about that. Same thing with checkout. Your paddler goes out of the the checkpoint, hit checkout. And pretty simple. And it will tell you. Let's say, for instance, that your paddler's there, but you forgot to press go. You have this little slider bar. You can move back in time. I think it's about a half hour, just to adjust the time if it's something different than what it actually is. So that's kind of handy. If you want to DNF, this is how you do it. I wouldn't recommend it unless you really, really want to, but you can press the DNF. It'll say, are you really sure? And you say, yep or no. Say, no, don't want to. And then you will have withdrawal from the race. Now, that's fine. I would recommend you do a text as well, just to let them know, yeah, I'm DNFing, here's why, or whatever, if you want to let them know. It's not absolutely required, but I would recommend it.
John?
Yeah.
There is a question that might be worth answering now. Carl says he's kind of confused. So when I register with RaceOwl, can I run just the Pro Paddler app to have my ground crew see my location in RaceOwl?
Sure.
Right. So it tracks and does the auto check-in and check-out.
Yes.
And all of that data feeds to RaceOwl.
All that data feeds.
They
go hand in hand. Yep.
Yeah.
The Pro Paddler will feed directly to RaceOwl, both your check-in, check-outs, as well as your position data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In that case, then you're going to have this app as a backup. What you cannot do with the Pro Paddler is DNF, right? There's no way to do that. And Pro Paddler has a less advanced log file. So like this log, if you go to log, it tells you what you did and when you did it. There's kind of a reduced functionality on the Pro Paddler, but this one shows here's what you did, here's what happened, and it allows you to edit it as well. So if you want to change it, you can do that. Say I want the time to be something different, you know, I can set that, and it will resend it. So you can't do that on ProPaddler. So that's why I recommend you have this as at least a as a backup. Okay.
Yeah, we're caught up on questions.
Okay, good. Get off that. There we go. Okay. Play with it a while. It shouldn't be too hard. You might hit St. Charles, but you won't be able to actually check yourself in. So it's on the list because as volunteers that are in St. Charles, they have to use this app as well. They just have that code that says they're a valid machine and can enter it as official time. So you can do it. You can try it. It's going to reject you right now, whether for not registered or some other reason. Eventually, even if you're valid, it's going to say, yeah, St. Charles, you can't check into. So don't even try.
I have a question that came in. If there's no cell service at a stop like Glasgow, what happens with the auto text? Now, Steve commented that he did have connectivity there recently.
Yeah. Yeah.
But how do you handle that? You just
Right.
come in and come out, and what happens?
So you can go, even if you don't have cell phone connectivity, all you have to do is still check in, check out, right? That's fine. You can do it. And what it's going to do is say, I've got it. I'm pending a network. And so this goes back and kind of saves away in the app. And when it gets cell phone again, it will send it. So yeah, don't worry about it if you don't have a cell phone. You can actually just send it anyway. And as soon as you get it again, it'll send it automatically.
Yep.
So yeah. I mean, preferably for peace of mind, I'd say try and send it immediately so you get that, okay, I'm good or not, but you have an out if it doesn't.
There's a question. Just to clarify, ground crew can check me in and out if I'm not stopping at the checkpoint. The answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So and they can do that either by using the app or by texting the MR340 number.
Correct. You can text or you can do the app.
Here's another question. What does sync-with-raceowl.com do?
Yeah, good question. That one is a just in case. So what that does is normally this thing will automatically update races, but if for some reason this is not synced up, as in you remember you're going to do a race, but it's not in the list here, you can use this to force the app to go and grab the latest and greatest races from RaceOwl. So yeah, this is kind of a just in case thing.
Okay, a couple other questions. 1 second, let me catch up. If they have ProPaddler, we don't have to check them in. That's true, unless something goes wrong.
I would say that, you know, ProPaddler has the automatic feature. It will check it in, check it out, but you still should pay attention to, at least have ground crew pay attention that, oh yeah, it's working. The ProPaddler will tell you if it was successful or not as well. So check the log on that. Just make sure it went. If you see the log is missing, then you might want to pull up this app and fix that.
Here's the next question. Can we use the checkpoint texter? You
can. Checkpoint texter, though, is simple, but you get no feedback. The only feedback you have is by going to the website and checking that. And there is no such thing as am I close to this? So you'll see people with that texter app make the mistake of accidentally leaving at Ka Point, and then they check themselves into Ka Point all the way downriver, right? That's not great because it doesn't automatically pick the current checkpoint you're near. It's simple though. So it's just one screen. It looks like this. There's no feedback. All you have is that you send a text.
So it's not smart in the way the other apps are.
Right. This is smarter, although you have the complexity factor of you've got to deal with, you know, this stuff.
So the RaceOwl app Does the RaceL app track to the map on the website, or is that only through ProPaddler?
The RaceL app will track. So yes, it will, with the position tracking, you can turn that on here, like this is on, and it will track to RaceL.
So do all of the RaceOwl or ProPaddler, all of that stuff, all of them track to the website except for the checkpoint?
Right. The checkpoint texter is uber basic. It's only meant to format a text string for you. It does nothing else.
Okay.
So that's why I tend not to. It's a nice backup, but it's eventually will go away, I think.
Here's another question. Will it cause a network problem if we allow RaceOwl to check us in and use the checkpoint texter?
No, it's just two different pieces of information. So if you're saying, I think what you're saying is that if you checked in twice, you say maybe you did the RaceL or maybe it was ProPaddler, but whatever app is doing your checkpoint in and out, you're saying it does it in, and then I pull up the texter and I do it again. You're not going to hurt anything. It's just extra work.
So what your recommendation would be to use one or the other?
I would recommend using this guy, and don't worry about the other one. Use it. You can have it on your phone, have it as backup. If something fails miserably, then you can pull it up and use it as a backup, but it's a backup. As an engineer, I like lots of different what ifs. So what if something fails? Well, I got a backup. What if that fails? I got a backup.
Okay, here's a question that is actually interesting. What is the RaceOwl Watcher app?
Let's save that to the end. That's an interesting app. That's a very much a beta app, and it's kind of junky, but it has some interesting features.
Okay.
So yeah.
So anything that we're not answering and we're saving, I am leaving it as a open question,
Okay.
and we will, that way we won't forget to come back to it. So just
Okay.
for everybody who's asking those questions, we will come back to you.
Okay.
Here's one. It says, I'm registered, I'm tracking. It shows 2 total locations, yet on the website, I'm not showing up.
Register and tracking, but showing no place on the website.
Shows
Okay.
2 total locations, but they're not showing up on the website.
Right. And so that could be a different, there's 2 races out there. We could have picked the other race, or else there's some GPS issue. I imagine it's the other race.
So check to be sure that you've selected them.
I have a simulation running, and so that simulation is running for tonight, so we can play with it.
Okay.
So most likely it's just that we have the wrong race picked.
Okay. Here's another question, and I'm not sure what this is in reference to. It says, what happens if my wife does both? And I'm assuming that is checkpoint texter and RaceOwl.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. So Dave, if you want to clarify, but otherwise, John, do you have thought on that?
Well, I think that's related to the other question where if I do both, are you going to hurt anything? No, you're not going to hurt anything. It's just extra work.
Okay. Hang on. We have one more question. If I'm a paddler and I'm not stopping at a checkpoint, do I still have to check in and then out on RaceOwl?
Yes.
But if you're using the ProPaddler, it will automatically do it for you.
That's correct. So, but somehow you have to, that's a requirement to get the check in, check out for those checkpoints. How you do it is up to you. You've got choices, but it is a requirement. You can't not do it. There have been people that don't do it. It's just not a good practice. It hurts safety.
Hold on a second. I mean, that's really the beauty of the apps, is it automates it, because anybody who's never done this race before, by the time you get 40 hours into the race, you're not thinking as clearly as you were at the start, right? And so John,
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
We've had times where John has been like, he doesn't remember to text, he doesn't remember to check his phone, something has come up, it's a major issue, and he's not even thinking about checking his phone. And one year I wrote on the splash cover, check your phone. Because I wanted him to have a visual reminder. Another time I thought he was just going to stop and then grab something and eat on the way. And when I got to the next checkpoint, he had never eaten the food that I gave him because he forgot. And he was so out of it and so unable to function that he literally forgot to eat the food I gave him. So if you're trusting that you are going to remember to manually check in and out of each checkpoint, you're playing with fire. You're not going to be able to remember it.
Well, especially if you have to text, right? So if you have to
Yeah.
text it in, that becomes really,
Yeah.
really, well, it was really hard for me at least. Maybe other
Yeah.
people wouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So here, this is the person who's asking before about the, she wasn't showing up. She said she had MR340 selected and the location showed sent and was counted, but it's still not showing up on the map.
Yeah, yeah. I think we can take it up after on because that sounds like something. Like I say,
So-
I think it's a map issue.
So we'll save that to the end.
I think we save it to the end, or else take it offline.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, we're caught up.
Okay, so let's move on then. So I want to pull up the website here, and then start talking over that. Okay, so let me just make sure I've covered everything I wanted to up until this point. Yeah, so we're ready to talk about websites. So here is kind of the two races that we've got going on right now. You pull up raceall.com, it lists the now racing. And so the first thing you want to do is pick the race that you want to go into. We're going to pick this test race because I have a simulation running. It is the copy of last year's race, 2020, and it's now kind of running in the background as a live race. So this is actually what it would look like, a year ago if you were in the race. Except actually, race out was somewhat broken last year, so it wouldn't have looked exactly like this, but you'll get the point. All right, so first thing people usually like to do is they like to look at the map screen, right? So you pick on the map screen, and you're going to see where all the paddlers are at. So it shows up the whole course, all the way from Cobb Point down to St. Charles, and then a bunch of different paddle stops in between. Now, this is more than your checkpoints, right? This is individual places where you might want to be to meet your paddler. So 15 miles in, you got La Benite,
Mm-hmm.
And then Fort Osage, et cetera, et cetera. So all these places you might want to meet a paddler at are all in here as far as, I'll call them not checkpoints, but they're access points, right? And then as you zoom in, you'll see where it was a year ago at 7:30 in the evening. So you've got people coming in, looks like this is Miami. You've got the leaderboard kind of out there. These guys are kind of out in front. You've got different folks, a lot of people still back at Waverly, right? So you can see Waverly is about to close. When is closed? It's like 6:30 or 7:30, I don't remember. But you'll see people at Waverly kind of getting through that checkpoint. And all these numbers kind of moving along the river. So this is kind of cool to watch.
I want to say too, somebody asked a question and I answered it, but I don't know if everybody saw the question and answer. They said, yeah, but when I zoom in on my phone, it's so small I can't read it.
Yep.
The easy fix is to rotate your phone.
Rotate it, yep. Turn it to sideways and it looks much. The problem is not all phones or browsers are created equal. And so different phones do better jobs at zooming that in. So the website is much easier if you, especially on the map page, to look at it in this view here in kind of a landscape mode. And then it'll look much more like this.
Mm-hmm.
So you can zoom in on these guys. I guess one thing up here in the right corner is an update. Okay, you'll see this little countdown. Every minute it's going to update the position. So you don't have to keep hitting F5. You can do F5 or refresh whatever you want. That will update it immediately, but it's not going to do any good, right? It's only updating every couple minutes anyway on RaceAll as far as positions. You're getting positions every 5 minutes. So it doesn't do a lot of good to keep it on refreshing. So just let the counter do it. Or, at the start, maybe hit Control or F5, whatever. But again, it's going to refresh quite a bit just by letting it go. As you zoom in on and pick a number, pick on it and it's going to show you who it is, what division and when the last update was. You'll see here this racer number. You can click on that. That'll take you to race splits. We'll go over that in a second.
I have another question, John. I think it's been answered and it's being asked in a different way. So we just want to make sure we've actually answered the question. My paddler's using Pro Paddler. If I, as ground crew, check them in and out, does that cause a problem?
No, it does not.
Right. That's what I
ProPaddler
thought.
will be doing it. So it's just getting multiple, it's getting multiple information from different people. So it should be the same information. If you're way off, that might cause it to get kicked out, but someone, it'll be fine. You're
I
not
would
going
say
to,
as ground crew, just let your paddlers app, if they're using the app, just trust the app to do the job.
right.
You can still kind of pay attention if you want to and make a note in a notebook or something. And that way, if something goes haywire, you have the data, but you don't need to check them in and out manually if they're using the ProPaddler app. It's doing it automatically.
Yeah, just make sure it's actually doing it. So,
Right.
yep. On this map, there's a lot of boats, so it's handy sometimes to filter it down to what just the person you're looking for. So up here in the upper left is filter. And if you want to find a particular boat number, you can just search for it and then click on it, and then you show just that one boat. If you want to hold division, you can do that as well. So maybe I want to look at just the SUPs, right? And I pick everything, and then all the SUPs show up. And you exit out of this, and then it'll be just the SUPs displayed. Okay, so the filter's your friend. I do find it somewhat hard to use on the phone, depending on what version of phone you've got, but it is doable. Okay. Okay. I guess any questions on the map screen?
We are currently caught up.
Okay. Let's talk about split times then.
Oh, wait. Somebody asked, can I share a link with the filter set?
No, you cannot.
Okay.
Okay. So for the split screen, there's a couple ways to get to it, but we're going to do it by clicking on the number here. If you go to the number that's got a highlight, that's going to take you to this person's split. And so this will then show you, where they've checked in and out. Now, we are not doing auto check-in with a website. If that were the case, we would see all these numbers filled in up until Waverly, the last checkpoint he was at. But in this case, it's just the manual check-ins or the automatic thing from ProPaddler. It's just for the checkpoints. But that's fine.
Just for the official checkpoints for the race, the mandatory ones.
Mandatory ones. That's all you're going to see on this. But the more interesting thing for this page is this guy, the ETA. This is gold, okay? This is the estimated time that the paddler is going to be at each of these locations. So you can see here, his estimated time in was 3:48. Well, that's when he checked in. Likewise, he's going to be at Miami at about 8 o'clock at night, and so forth and so forth. So it gives you ETAs to every access point and checkpoint all the way down the river. This is really, really useful. This is why you want to track, right? Because it gives you this information that you can then use for a ground crew. It is extremely accurate for the next checkpoint. As long as they don't stop paddling, it's going to catch it and be really, really accurate. We've seen this time and time again. You will see a very good correlation between when this says and when it's going to be. Now, the further away they are, it might not be as accurate, but it will converge and get closer, and it'll eventually be right on as you get to the checkpoint. And when I say, like say you come out of Waverly, you're going to Miami, it might be, it might say 8:20. It's like plus or minus 20 minutes right from the start, and then it just gradually gets much, much more accurate as you get closer.
Yeah. Somebody was asking, what is ETA calculated by? And it's your location between updates, and it can calculate the speed from there.
Well, it's more than that though. So
Okay.
it's an average speed. So it's picking up, I believe, the last 45 minutes of speed, not including stops. So it's moving average for the last 45 minutes. And so that's usually pretty accurate for you. If you stop between here, then yeah, that's going to throw it off. But that's just life. I can't read your mind.
Somebody asked you, please show how to get to the ETA one more time. So if you're starting from the map,
Yep. So
how do you get back to the split screen?
From the map, you're going to click on your number. All right, I'll pick a different person. Let's pick this one here. You just click on the thing, and it gives you this blue thing, the blue link, which then takes you to splits. Okay, so click on their boat, click on the link, and you got it. Okay, While we're here on the screen, let me just point out a couple things. This is more kind of the data related stuff, but this gives you two options to kind of view kind of what you did. So KML gives you ability to look at all your track. Let me see, why is it doing that? I think it'll open up that in Google Earth, maybe not. Yeah, there we go. So you can do this on your phone or on a computer, it doesn't matter. But if you want to look at each individual location you sent, then this is a way to do it. It looks like my Google Earth is not going to cooperate tonight. Oh, there it is. So let me see, this person had pretty sparse, he was probably a satellite tracker. They're much more sparse. So you'll see them kind of tracking every hour. So that's kind of, you can set those satellite trackers to do that, but that's really in kind of a, I would say a little bit of a power saving mode. I'd want to do at least every 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, you have access to everything you've sent to RaceOwl. This one is just, it's really if you're kind of geeky and you want to kind of look at more things like average speed and things like that, that gives you kind of an Excel spreadsheet thing of the same data. But I won't go into that right now. Click on it if you're interested. Okay, let's go back. And let's go back here. Okay, the other thing that you'll see is the results page. Okay, so that's this guy right here. This gives you kind of the leaderboard of the race. So if you click on it, you're going to see the current leader and where they're at. So we're calling the 1917 as the leader. He is 33% down to the race. We estimate he's 33 points. So that means he's tracking well. What you'll see is some people are not matched up. Estimate just means where we think he's at versus where we last heard from him. So that might be off by a little bit. They'll give you average speed. They'll give you the estimated finish time. So if he keeps this up, that's a really good time to finish, right? Where the last checkpoint was, so he checked in at Waverly. He didn't check out. So he didn't send an out message there, just an in. And then here is kind of interesting. This will give you the next access point and the estimated time. So you can see that for pretty much everyone as far as when they are planning on coming in. These filters kind of help you. So say you're sitting there at, especially like as I get towards Jeff's realm, if I'm sitting at a checkpoint and I want to know who else coming in, this is kind of useful to do, where you do a filter on the next checkpoint, and then you can look and see who do I expect to come in and when. And so it says, well, I should expect 1917 at 10:30, 15:53 at 10:42, et cetera, et cetera. So it gives you kind of a list of who's coming and when, and that's kind of interesting, especially if you're waiting for people.
John, there's a couple questions that came on the last stuff that you were talking about. One was, how long is the data available in RaceOwl after the race is complete?
It's indefinite. So until we have any reason to delete it, we leave it there.
And then the next one was, we can see the KML after the race as well?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's all available. So that's really interesting to like compare split times, things like that, if you're really into the science of it.
This is a ton of fun to watch too, even as a non-participant, to just see how things are progressing as the week goes on. And, you know, how many people DNF'd and how many people have, you know, gotten past the first checkpoint, you know, who's behind. And it's just really interesting to play around with those filters.
Yep. Yeah, so use the filters. This one is kind of nice. You can search everything. So I don't care about the filter. I just want whatever shows up 1917. Mm-hmm. Or if I want to know all the Johns out there, oh, there's none. Maybe there is. No. Wow. I figured there'd be some. But yeah, so you can kind of see a lot of that stuff here with just this big filter. Walking across a little bit more. So checkpoint, next checkpoint, division. If you want to just see everything from men's solo, you know, it's like that. And what do I have picked? Oh, I have just Glasgow. That's why it's not showing up. So yeah, all men's solo, the current results there. You'll notice here, this is the place, this is the current place overall and the current place for the division, okay? Now this is as good as we can guess. It doesn't mean it's actually what's there. It means it's the best we can do with the data we have. And so if someone's not tracking, he's going to be stealth mode and you'll never see him. But that's really not desirable. And so that's against the rules. And if that ever get checked doing that, they might end up with penalty points. Anyway, because that was a bad thing. Penalties are served if you don't wear your life jacket. Anything you do that would cause race officials to say, yeah, that's really bad style, don't do it. They might assess you some penalty points and knock your time down some amount. Tracker error is if you have a tracker like for instance, if I'm in a car and I'm going off the river, it'll show up something like off race course, something like that. Race Owl is much smarter this year, so I expect there'll be very few of those on this list. And then CompStats just says, am I tracking a T in the last several hours, or C as checkpoint, have I heard you on checkpoints? So I should see every racer have a T and or a C. That's mostly for official use, but it's useful to know if someone hasn't been communicating.
John, I have a question that came in. Looking at the map is quick and easy on a laptop. Can you show how to look at the map on a phone? It's the same process on the website. You're clicking the same things on the website.
Yeah, I'll do that. That's fair. Any more questions on this screen though? Again, this is really useful for the ETA. I think that's where you like. Oh, by the way, you can get to the split times here as well. So if I click on 3620, it shows me the splits.
So here's another question about battery life. And so I don't understand, is this presentation or this webinar going to be available for watching after it's done being live?
Yeah.
Okay, so the question was about battery life, and that was addressed earlier.
Correct.
So you can go ahead and get look at that after the webinar is over.
Yep. I'll go ahead and pull up on an app here or a phone, the website. If I can do it. So again, kind of same process on the phone. Hopefully that shows up. I'm not a big Safari fan. Okay, but yeah, same deal. You're going to pick your race. We're going to pick the test one for this one. Actually, let's go back. Home, and then pick the test. And let's see, I guess we want to do the maps. Let's go here. So it loads, and I'm going to go ahead and rotate the screen as soon. So here, yeah, you can zoom in all you want. It's kind of hard to do this in Safari. Let's see if I can get there. Maybe this way. Oops. This is an emulator too. It doesn't really work very well. Let me go back and refresh this. Now I'm really close. Well, regardless, hard to do in the simulation, but you want to just turn your screen. And then things get really big and I can't move a thing.
Here's a question for Steve while you're working on that. Any chance Steve is working on getting the barge captains to download, use, and track themselves for us on Race Owl? That would be great.
Well, we've actually posed that. I don't think, well, that was a question early in the year.
But there's no update?
I haven't heard. And I don't know, they would probably not take kindly to that, but who knows?
So the question, and I think I answered it, John, was can one ground crew track more than one racer? I mean, you can by just using the filter and checking up on each racer individually.
Yep.
So if you're only asking about tracking, it's as simple as that. But if you're needing to do something else, can you ask a more detailed question? So that way we can be sure and answer it.
I go back to here. Yeah, so just to follow up on that. So if I want to go and track 2 racers, so say I go here, and I don't know, let's look and see what numbers we've got. So let's say I want to track 50-50 and I don't know, 4,200. So I go to filter, I enter 50-50, I click on that, I enter 4,200, I click on that, I close this off, and I got both of them.
Okay. Question about the barges. Doesn't Pro Paddler track them?
No.
No.
No, barges are not. There is other apps you can get that do that have the AIS information, but barges you're mostly going to get texted. That's one of the things we use for the broadcast messages. You're going to get a blast of text saying, "Hey, there's a barge at Jeff City or whatever, moving up at such and such speed." So you can download the AIS map if you want. I don't remember. I think there was a charge to that, but you can always grab something off the net for that.
Is it called AIS, John?
I don't know what the app name is, but it's the AIS information. It's like the navigational buoys or beacons that they send out.
Oh, Marine Tracker is the name of one of the free apps for AIS.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I mean, having RaceOwl, Pro Paddler, they're not the end all be all. There's lots of other things out there that you can use, and like a good weather app would be good. The AIS one would be good. Anything that can kind of get you more information is not bad. Now, I'll just caution you guys that you can get overwhelmed with apps, and so sometimes you just want to put them away. And so enjoy the river, right? Don't get hung up on staying right in the channel or something like that. The channel's huge. You don't have to be on that. Like with a Pro Paddler, I'll see a lot of people, they're exactly 1 foot off of the center of the channel. Well, the channel's much wider than that. So I would say you stay within 60 or 90 feet, you're good. You're going to get the same speed.
Yeah, and maybe if you want to track the barges or whatever, ask your ground crew to track them, and then they can let you know if you're going to be coming up on one. They can maybe give you an alert if you want that. But rather than you trying to track it while you're paddling or in the boat, it might be better to have your ground crew watch it.
It's one of those things that they move, but they don't move terribly fast. So you're gonna take breaks. When you take a break, take a look, see where they're at, and go from there. And that doesn't mean that's the only traffic out there, right? That's incomplete information. So there's other things out there that can get you. So be very, very, very aware of mass texts sent by the broadcast thing. Pay attention to those.
Check your phone.
Check your phone. Yeah, I know. I should do that once in a while.
But that's your ground crew can also check. I mean, they're going to get those things too. So it's just your ground crew is an important part of your safety plan.
Yep. Okay, so at this point, I've covered everything I wanted to, and I'll just kind of open up to any other questions, and we can move on to those open questions at this point as well.
Okay, so the one open question that's still out there is, what is the RaceOwl Watcher app?
Okay, RaceOwl Watcher. Let me.
Is that one that you made?
Yeah, that's one I made. That was made for the what was the other one? That was the Water Tribe thing down in Florida. And so what that does is it's really giving you this information on the phone. And it's sorry guys, it's only Android. I have a beta out for iOS, but it's not ready yet. The one that's out there for Android is not really ready either. It's a junk app, so consider it very beta. You might get it to work, you might not, but it gives you this same information just in a slightly different format. Actually, it's not quite as good as this information. It doesn't have the split times, but it does have information to the next checkpoint.
I'll just say it's a rudimentary app for Android that gives some of the RaceOwl app in a simplified form. May or may not work.
Yep.
For you.
Yep. again, it's junk, but I tried to unpublish it and I couldn't find the button. So use at your own risk.
All right. Any other questions? We are currently caught up on all open issues. Steve said that the AIS apps are just as hard to see as Racel, and they can also show the dredges. So the AIS app can be confusing sometimes. So again, to John's point, you can get overwhelmed with apps and data, and at a certain point, it's not meaningful. So pick and choose what you want to follow.
Yep. All right. Let me see here. So I guess with time left, why is this doing this? It's very slow. We can talk a little bit about Pro Paddler, if that's where we want to go. But this guy again is only for Android, and you want to make sure again do auto. That's just easy. Auto turns on your auto checkpoint, turns on your tracking. Go with that, and then beyond that is really most of your time is going to be spent on the screen here, which is your navigation screen. Let me open up a simulation. The key thing here is the boat number, which it already asked you for. Everything else is pretty much automatic. But on this one, of course, you're trying to track that center channel. I think I can do this here. No, I can't. Oh, there we go. Kind of. So yeah, you're trying to stay, this is like the green line is like your warning track. This is like 60 feet. And you want to try and stay within that bound as you're paddling, especially at night. I would recommend you put this thing in your pocket during the day, use the screen at night. You're just going to follow other people during the day. What else? This screen is interesting in that, oh my goodness. I mean, there's so much detail in this thing that it's impossible to go through in the time we have. That's the basic operation. You put it on auto, you go and put it on the, keep your boat within this little, 2 lines, and you're good. Beyond that, it's like really detailed stuff that I'm not sure we want to go into. I guess if there's specific questions, we can answer them, but otherwise we'll leave it at that. And I guess any other questions are open game at this point.
Are there any ground crew questions too? Because a lot of the features and functionality of this came about because in the early years of John doing the race, it was ground crew was a whole different ballgame because you didn't have this. You would map out at the beginning of the race, like John would give me a paper that would say, I'm going to plan to be here by about this time. I think I'll spend a couple hours there. Maybe we should meet here. Maybe we should meet there. So having the ETA data is the single most wonderful thing from this whole app and website for the ground crew, because then, especially if you're tracking along the river and you've got kids, which is what I did in the early years, you know how much time about you have to kill before you go to the next thing. And then you can go, do something fun or sit inside air conditioning for a while before going to the ramp, right? So it's incredibly helpful. But if anybody has any questions for ground crew, I'd certainly be able to ask or to answer them. Here's a question. Is there a separate video for the Pro Paddler app?
There is. There in that training, you'll find some links to that. So if we go back to the website, right, and go to Racel, underneath info training, you're going to find a video. It's got a bunch of playlists there. That's all on YouTube, or you got the user's manual here, all for reference.
Here's a good question about planning rest time. So I'm assuming you're talking about, Denise, like within the app where it tells you you can like put in, okay, I plan to rest here, I plan to rest there. Is it only for current checkpoints, or does it include some of the older discontinued checkpoints?
So yeah, it includes all of them. And again, this is a little bit more advanced feature of the Pro Paddler, but you can put in settings, you can say, okay, I'm going to start in Cop Point, I'm going to St. Charles, and then I'm going to rest every checkpoint and do a half hour, or I'm going to sleep at these locations, and you can plan that ahead. Lots of different functionality there, or you can go back here and click and hold, and it'll pull up how much time are you going to spend here. Well, I'm going to spend 5 hours there. Okay, great. If you want to see the other checkpoints, this thing gives you everything, so you can toggle them, and then you've got every conceivable stop along that river. You can go in and put detail in as far as where you might want to stay. And then what you have here then is a plan, which if you're really into this stuff, will say, okay, I'm ahead of plan, I'm behind plan. I've got rest stops here. I'm you know, what your goal is, if you're going to meet your time, what it's going to be, you know, including, you know, this is stuff that the website can't have because it doesn't know where you plan on stopping, but here you could kind of map it out and kind of have it for you.
Yeah, but that would be to say, though, it doesn't send that information, or it's not included on the website. So if you deviate from your plan, you need to let your ground crew know, because
Well,
if you decide I'm not going to rest, I'm just going to go through, and they're expecting you to come into the checkpoint later or whatever, like you can see ETAs on the website, but if you're meeting at checkpoints that are not the major checkpoints,
right.
you need to communicate if you deviate from your plan.
Well, yes. I mean, the website will give you other access points besides the main checkpoints for sure. So you have those ETAs. But yeah, if you do this sort of thing, communicate, that's for sure.
Yeah. Here's a question. It's not race hour related, but immediately before the webinar started, Steve Schnarr mentioned the model that showed most of the race course potentially at flood stage on the 20th. What are the parameters for rescheduling the race? And maybe Steve, you could answer that.
Yeah, sure. What I actually said was that that it looked like with the rain coming in the next 2 days, the National Weather Service ran a model for us, trying to account for what that rain would do. And in that model, all of the race course came in under flood stage. So that was feeling good for us, but kind of regardless, it's going to be a high river. Now, to go to your actual question, which is what happens if the race were delayed by flood, it gets delayed by a month. I don't have those dates off the top of my head, and I'm not exactly sure how to get them right off the bat. But when you registered, you basically checked a box that said you understood that if the race was postponed due to flooding, the next race would be in August during the full moon, and then there was a September date. So there's 3 potential dates for the race to run in any given year. Trying to think where I can find that.
August 24th is what someone posted.
Great. Thank you.
Maybe the question she was asking, though, was what are the parameters? Do you know, like, if it meets flood stage, we're canceled, or it can be so many feet above flood?
No, flood stage is the that's the one. That's what the one that the permit is based on. So if any gauge along the race course is at flood stage during the time in which paddlers will be there, and that information is available before the race, then that could lead to a postponement of the race. If, for example, in this particular case, Herman right now is only 1.5 feet below flood stage. If, for example, Herman actually bumped above flood stage on Monday, but then was going to predicted to come down out of flood stage by Wednesday, when paddlers would actually be there, then that would not be a cancellation.
Thank you.
So those are, unfortunately, this has had to happen a few times in this race, and we have to make that call as data comes in. In this case, it looks like most of the rain will have hit the ground by Friday night. There's still a bit more rain projected on Saturday, but we should have a good idea by Saturday morning when the National Weather Service releases its projections. And we're going to be watching every step of the way. And also in communication with the National Weather Service, trying to get a little behind the scenes data too.
All right.
Any other questions? Looks like we're
Looks like
caught
we're
up.
clear.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, wait.
One.
Oh,
Oh,
it was a y'all are awesome. Thank you so much for the information. There's been a few thank yous that have come in, so we appreciate that, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
I do want to add one more thing about that making the call on would the race be postponed or not. Scott Mansker just texted me to clarify something. When you look at the river projections, which are showing how high the river is now and how high the National Weather Service thinks the river will get, which is never perfect, I have to say. You know, there's so many variables in this. But the first level is action stage, and action stage is not flood stage. So what will show up on the projections, and you know, I could actually put one up here. Oh shoot, I'm not on my computer, so I don't have all my bookmarks. Let's see, what can I do? Yeah. Okay, just hang tight a second and we will.
Hey, John, do
Yeah,
you know is this video going to be on YouTube?
it is.
Yeah, so after it's over, you can find it on YouTube on what page?
It will
Race
be on Missouri River Relief YouTube page. So I linked to that in the Facebook message that I posted about this. I will post that to Facebook again, and I will. What else can I do?
That's I mean, that's good. That's fair.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so now I'm going to share my screen real quick and be this one. Okay, so we're going to look at Herman. So these projections can look differently. They right now they're projecting about 2 weeks out, and a few days from now this will change. It'll kind of close in. But this blue line is the measurement of what the river has actually done and is doing right now. So essentially, the river crested in Herman yesterday, and the projection is the purple line. So according to when this was issued this morning, 24 hours of predicted precipitation, the National Weather Service comes up with this projection of what they think the river is going to do. And so in this projection, which doesn't include Thursday and Friday's rain, you know, there's no problem. It's gonna get way down. But what we're gonna see tomorrow morning when they release another projection, or maybe even tonight, is that'll start to account for Thursday's rain, what they think will happen. And then the next day will include Friday's rain. So what the National Weather Service did to us was run a special model showing what they thought was going to happen over the next couple days of precipitation, and that showed that the river is probably going to come up in a lot of these places, but then come down out of flood stage. So just to clarify, this yellow box is called action stage. That is not flood stage. Flood stage is starts with minor. So this orange box is including minor flood stage. And right here on the top, it says it. Flood stage is 21 feet at Herman. Each gauge is totally different. If you want to find a link to all of these projections for the race course, you can go to the resources page on the River Miles website, scroll down and look for the projection. See if I can, yeah. So this is the race resources. You go to MR340 resources page, and there's a whole bunch of links, including all the race owl stuff and a bunch of things here. And then here's river projections down here. And that's a good one to bookmark so you can kind of see what the river's doing. Sorry to gobble up so much time with weird river gauge stuff.
It's interesting to me.
It is.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think unless there's any other questions, we can probably start to wrap up here. I guess,
No.
Colleen, you have any other thoughts here?
No, I mean, it's race owl is the best thing that ever happened to the race, as far as I'm
Oh,
concerned.
come on.
It's,
No, I
I
mean,
mean,
no.
it's hard being a ground crew when you don't have all of that data at your fingertips. It's made it much easier and much more enjoyable to be ground crew now that you're tracking everything. So,
Mhm.
you know, I am forever grateful, John, that you wanted to make these apps and that they're connected to RaceOwl, and it's so easy to find that information.
And you're non-biased, yeah.
Non-biased.
So, yeah.
John is wonderful.
Mhm.
But for real, it makes it much easier to support your racer when this is working. So make sure that you guys practice with it and you got it set up, and definitely use it for the whole race because it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah, definitely practice. I mean, the worst experiences people have is when they download everything the day of and then try and make it work. It takes a little practice getting it set up right, but you know, good on you folks for tuning in and learning. So excellent.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll be at the safety, well, not the safety meeting, what are we calling it? The gathering from
Race
12 to
check-in.
8, res check-in. So I'll be there. Any more questions you have, then we can take it up at that point.
Thank you so much to both of you, Marbles. You're a perfect complement to each other. And these tools are so helpful to so many of us. We really appreciate you spending the time to explain how to use them, because it is a little daunting to some of us. We're afraid to press the button that says register. It's like, what is that? So make it easy. Thank you.
Denise said, Pro Paddler always estimated ETA. It's the best $10 I ever spent. I bought it twice.
Oh. All right, very good. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll sign off.
Have a good night.